and markets.
Last Thursday, we spoke about sports betting and the
Yes.
impact that the government's proposed ban on gambling ads is going to have on betting companies and also, I guess, TV rights
Yes.
and the media companies. But you wanted to just close out with a couple more astounding stats that are coming through.
Yeah, well, I think in the conversations since we recorded, there's been a lot more focus on it. There was a really good article from Annabelle Crabb in the ABC that we'll link in the show notes. And it had a stat that I think really frames and contextualizes this. 17% of all regular gamblers are problem gamblers. That's the problem with all this advertising. It's like a massive percentage of people that gamble regularly have a problem with it, and those people are the ones that are seeing these ads constantly. So I think that's an important stat to contextualize it. But another stat that came out from Seven West's report was the overall TV ad market is down 8%. Like revenue for TV ads, for broadcast TV, is down 8% year on year. TV's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
I
time.
think like that's the headline. Slowly but surely it is dying. And it kind of annoys me, some of the conversations that have happened. So like Bill Shorten came out and said, we can't ban gambling ads because gambling ads are keeping linear TV afloat.
Yeah.
And it's just like the most short-sighted thing I
Ever.
think we've seen for a while, because in the same, like we're working in a media company, we're selling media ads, and we're seeing that linear forms of media, TV, radio, are losing market share to digital forms.
Yeah.
And gambling ads, like every other form of ads, are leaving the median.
Yeah.
Slowly, sure, because like whilst they're sport on, they're still going to advertise there. But like Bill Shorten's argument isn't a long-term structural solution to save linear TV, because in 10, 20 years, as audiences leave linear TV, gambling ads will leave it as
gambling
well.
ads on podcasts.
So I don't know. It's just like so short-sighted. It's like, how can we save it? How can we keep it afloat for the next 5 years?
Yeah. Now, Ren, we should say there are many different ways to get help if you need help. There is the National Gambling Helpline. You can call 1-800-858-858. Check that out. So, speaking of TV, cable TV. Just firstly on ads, I don't know if you're if you pay for Prime, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But it is really pissing me off now that
they've
you
put
pay
ads.
and there's ads in there. What is going on?
I know.
What is
Yeah, it's
going
so
on?
annoying.
It's so annoying.
Is there a more
what am I paying for?
Is there a more premium tier where you can avoid the ads?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll have to have a look. Maybe
Yeah.
they've done a Netflix, but
Yeah.
they haven't. I haven't been given the option to reduce my payment.
No.
Like
no.
Netflix,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
reduce.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
stitch up. But cable TV, Ren, News Corp have reported that.
Well, hold on, just on that point.
Okay.
That kind of reinforces the whole Bill Shorten thing.
Exactly.
Because while
That's
Netflix
what made
and
me think of it.
Amazon,
Yeah. They'll just take it all.
That's where the gambling ads are going to go.
Especially as they start playing in sports rights.
Yeah, true.
Next, you'll just have Netflix and Amazon Prime showing NBA and
Yeah.
Premier League
Yeah.
and be full.
You can't solve one problem by perpetuating another Bill Shorten.
Done.
On that, and I know we need to move away from sports betting, but
Yes.
it's obviously got us riled up. I think the classic example of a way that you could try and help solve the problem is when they ban tobacco advertising. And specifically in Victoria in the 80s, so there was a national ban in the 70s, but then in Victoria they passed more laws about tobacco advertising in the 80s. And Victoria had this system where Vic Health would backfill the advertising spots taken up by tobacco. And tobacco was just as prevalent as gambling. In the late 60s, early 70s, there was a tobacco ad every 8 to 14 minutes on TV. Adjusted for today's dollars, so adjusted for inflation, they were spending just shy of $200 million a year. So like equivalent to gambling. And Vic Health said for X number of years, while you sort of transition out of the reliance on tobacco, or like you find other ways to fill that revenue gap, we will backfill it with public health messaging. And they bought that advertising spot from the broadcasters and did anti-smoking messaging. I think seatbelts was a big one. And there was like one or two other key health messages that they backfilled for like X number of years and probably like phased it out. There are solutions to some of these challenges that don't require us to just keep the status quo.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, now let's go back
Nice.
to
All right. Cable TV. News Corp reported, as I said, full year results, and it shared plans to sell its stake in Foxtel. So Foxtel is a joint venture between Telstra and News Corp.
Yep.
At its peak in 2015, Foxtel had 2.9 million set-top box subscribers, but to today it is less than half of that, 1.2.
Yeah, so Foxtel's overall subscribers are up because of Binge, KO,
Yeah.
Flash. You remember
Forgot
Flash?
about that. Yeah.
But the
Just to be clear on that, Foxtel essentially provide the content, or they are those. Binge and KO is just a spin-off of that content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the set-top box was like $90 a month. So don't know who's still paying. The 1.2 million people still paying it. But like that was the
That was
profitable
it.
part,
Yeah.
the more profitable part of the business. Apparently Nine were looking to buy it, and they've looked to buy it a couple of times, but they haven't been able to get the deal done. They reckon it'll go to like an overseas private equity player or, media investor or something.
I can't see what you do with it from here, though. Like, you're going to struggle to convince people to go back to that unless streaming, as it is already, becomes so expensive individually that you're forced back to a model like that.
Yeah, I don't think this would happen because they don't have the money. But if I was one of the big US streamers that were looking to come to Australia, so HBO Max is looking to come to Australia,
Oh, yeah.
and then NBC Universal's Peacock, I think, is also looking to come to Australia.
Just customer base.
No one wants N+1 streaming service.
Yeah,
No one wants more fragmentation in this market. But if they had the balance sheet to say, look, we'll pick up Binge and rebrand it and make it Max, like you could see that being
True. Yeah, not bad.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think it would just be some private equity player that buys Foxtel, and yeah, it's a dying business.
It
and
is.
it's not just a dying business in Australia, we should be clear.
No.
In the US, it's dying an even more spectacular death.
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers wrote down the value of their cable business by $9.1 billion.
Yeah.
Jeez. It lost its sports broadcast right, and fees from cable and satellite distribution are also down. As a result, their shares were down 11% to an all-time low. So not great.
Yeah. It's funny. Warner Brothers Discovery owns TNT Sport, which had part of the NBA broadcast rights.
Yeah.
And they lost. The next 10-year deal has been signed, and TNT lost out. And the streamers took their slack, basically, like Amazon and stuff like that, are getting those games. And they're suing. And it just then reminded me of Elon suing his advertisers as well.
Yes.
On Twitter, because they're not advertising with him. It's just like, you don't
What
get the
an
deal.
Sue. What an idiot. Anyway, a couple of other news headlines that have caught our attention. Dating apps rent are getting whacked.
Yeah.
We haven't been on a dating app in a while, but Bumble's share price are down.
You've never been on a
I've
dating
never
app.
been on a dating app, no. Bumble's share price is down 33% after reporting quarterly earnings and forecasting growth of only 1 to 2% for the year.
Yeah, previously they'd been guiding 8 to 11%, so a big drop off. So Bumble's shares over the past 12 months are down 64%.
Scheißen.
Yeah, and then Match Group, which owns Tinder and Hinge, is down 22% in the past 12 months.
Wow, less people dating,
I think
less people using.
I think people, particularly like Gen Z, are off the dating apps.
Really?
Well, to the extent that like millennials, I think, were peak dating app.
Okay, yeah. Well, so they're back on
I
OG.
think, well, I mean, that's just what all the usage sort of
Wow.
numbers
Good on
sort of
him.
say.
Good on him.
I don't know if it's OG or it's like
Something else.
I don't know.
Yeah, metaverse. And finally, here's a big one that came out at the end of last week. ASIC are suing the ASX for misleading comments.
Yes, they are alleging that the ASX misled the market that they run.
Yes.
Yeah, because the ASX is the stock market operator, but it is also a company listed on the stock market, and they have obligations to truthfully update investors with all sort of known information at the time, like any other listed company. ASIC are alleging that they didn't when it came to their chess replacement project.
Yes.
In the peak of Bitcoin mania, the ASX announced that they were going to replace their chess system with a blockchain-based system.
Yeah.
And that's where the trouble started.
Yeah, to the tune of a couple of $100 million, and
The CEO's job.
CEO's job.
Potentially
yeah.
now the chair's job.
Yes, yeah, not looking good, but yeah, one that we will keep an eye on. Now, if you want to keep up with the headlines, make sure you subscribe to our daily newsletter. We'll not only give you the business headlines, but some of the other major ones that are playing out around the world. And there are questions from the community answered by the expert as well. So sign up to that. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Equity mind.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.